Hello everyone, welcome to Code and Learn. It has been few months since Go 1.26 was released. I'm a little late to the party, but as we say, better late than never. So in this video, I'm going to cover some of the changes that were made in Go 1.26. So let's begin. The most exciting change for me is the new function or the new. So the new inbuilt function now accepts an expression. It's very convenient when working with serialization package like encoding JSON. We will see that with an example. Since it accepts an expression, so you can directly pass it a value and it will convert into a pointer. In earlier version of Go, the built-in new function only worked with types. So you couldn't use it to create pointers. Let's have a look with an example. I already have Go 1.26 installed. I'm just going to create a main file, package main. For example, if I had something like this, a type person, which is a struct, we could have name, which is a string, map to JSON, name. Similar to this, we had age, which is an int, map to JSON, age. Now what we do is sometimes to make age optional, we will convert it to a pointer so that when we provide a nil pointer, it's omitted from the JSON. Now usually what we will do is we will create a pointer function like this, which accepts a generic t of type any, and then we will say in of type t and then just return a pointer to it. Inside it, we will just do res in. And that's what we used to do when we were going to create pointers from a passed-in type. So we would do something like raw error json.new or json.marshal and pass the person or the person struct. Here you would do name, code, age. Now to create the pointer, we will just use the pointer helper function and pass 10. If error not is equal to nil, we will log it. That is log.fatal error. And that's it. Let me zoom out a bit. Otherwise, we will just print the raw JSON. We will use println, convert it into a string and just do raw. So that's what we used to do earlier. Now with the new change to the new function, which accepts a expression now, you can just do new 10 so that this is no longer required. And now if we run main.go, as you can see, it's being printed as we expect. So that's the change with the new function. New will also work with composite types and functions. So you can do as new or a slice, which is hello world. And this will create a pointer to the slice. So if you wanted to print it, we can do fmt println, dereference it, and then print it. Go run main.go. And as you can see, it's printed. Similar to this, it will also work with functions. Next, we have the self-referential type parameters. The restriction that a generic type may not refer to itself in the type parameter list has been lifted. Earlier, we were not able to do something like this. That is, the type itself is referring to the generic. But now we can do it. Let's have a look with an example. I'm just going to comment this out. Similarly here. Now let's look at self-referential generic types. So for example, if I create a node and inside I can do node, which is of type node itself, but you need to pass the generic, which is an interface, next, which is a method that returns a node, set next, which takes a node. So this is essentially what we can do now. Earlier, the compiler would complain if we did something like this. Now you could do linked list value, which is of type int, and then next, which is a linked list itself. Let's create two functions, that is next 10, set next to satisfy the interface. Now what we can do with self-referential types or generic types is that we can create advanced, which accepts a node. This need to be in square brackets, and then it accepts a node of type n, and then we can do return this, and then we can simply do return node.next because we were able to create a reference to the n inside the node. Next great feature is the type safe error handling. In the earlier version of Go, we would use error as, which is powerful as it relies on interface and pointer to pointers, which can sometimes be error prone. In Go 1.26, we have a new generic version. It makes code a lot cleaner and a lot faster. It also helps you create multiple conditional error check statements. Another thing is that if you pass the wrong type in earlier error.as method, it would cause a panic at runtime. But now it will cause a compile time error. Again, let's look at an example. Just going to comment this out. So basically what we will do is error net.op error operation write http. So I'm just creating a sample error. Now what we can do is use the type like this. If op error is equal to, let's use the new error as type. So if it's type net.op error, pass in the error. Just need to update it to okay. Then we can here do fmt println network error. So you can see it simplifies it. Pass in the network error. Earlier, what we would do is something like this, where we would say var target error, which is pointed to net.op error. And then if errors.as error, pass the pointer to the target and do something like this here, target error. As you can see, the new method is a lot cleaner and less error prone, because sometimes you would here not pass a pointer and it would lead to panic. As you can see, the language server is smart enough to tell you that we can use as type. Here I will just say old version. With this, you can also do multiple error checks, or else if path error, okay, same as error.as type, pass in the os.path error, okay, do fmt println path error. So as you can see, it becomes a lot easier to perform multiple checks in one go. Next big update is the green tea garbage collector. If you remember, in 1.25, it was experimental feature. Now it has been generally released. Go's traditional garbage collector algorithm operated on graphs, treating objects as nodes and pointer as edges without actually considering their physical location. This meant when the garbage collector was scanning the memory, it would have to jump between different parts of memory. That meant CPU spent too much time waiting for data to arrive from memory. The green tree garbage collector uses a span-based scanning. Instead of traversing the object graph purely by pointer following, it groups objects into spans. It then scans these spans using vectorize instructions. By scanning the memory chunks, it reduces the latency and also reduces the CPU stalls. Overall, it will increase the efficiency of the garbage collector by 30%, which is a great improvement for the garbage collector. Then we have some runtime performance boost. The C bridge used to make the CGO calls has been optimized. The overhead of switching from Go stack to C stack has been slashed by 30% by using the fast path of leaf functions. The benefit is that applications using high performance C libraries like SQLite will see noticeable reduction in CPU usage. Previously, the processor had to make a syscall when performing a CGO call. Now this state has been removed. Instead of using a separate processor state, the system now checks the status of the Go routine assigned to the processor to see if it's involved in the system call. Otherwise, it will just clear it. The most direct speedup comes from rewrite of how the runtime handles objects between 1 and 512 bytes. Previously, every allocation went through a general purpose allocation function. Go 1.26 now uses jump tables and size specialized routines. Instead of calculating size class at runtime, the compiler generates a direct path to the specific memory slot needed for that exact size. The result is that allocation for objects under 512 bytes, like small structs, short strings, and interface wrappers, is up to 30% faster. Next, we have some changes in the reflection package. Few methods have been introduced that makes a developer's life easier. The new methods such as type.fields, type.methods, type.ins, type.outs return an iterator for the type field, that is for a struct type. Methods input-output parameters can be used for function type respectively. Similarly, there are new methods such as value fields and value methods, which return an iterator over values fields and methods. Each iteration will yield the type information or method. Now we can also range directly on the reflected slices array maps using sec and sec2, where sec is the single value iterator and sec2 is two value iterator. Enough of the theory, let us look at some examples. Again, comment this out. So let me scroll this up. Let me create a new function to show you the changes in the reflection package. Let's accept reflect.value. Now if you add a map, you could do key value and range v.sec2. This should return the key and the value. So you can simply do this. Now let's look at the in and outs. So example, if t is a function, we can do reflect.type of v. If t is a function, we can do in type range t.ins. So the input value provided to the functions, we can simply range over them. Similar to that, we can do out type, which is the return values from the function. We can do range t.outs and that's it. Now let's look at the fields and the methods. If t was of type struct, I can do for field value range v.fields. Similar to that, I can also do methods. That will give you the methods on the struct. Basically, the API has introduced a bunch of methods that return iterator so that you can easily range over them. Now let's move on to process management and safety. If you start a process in Go, you could access it process ID with PID. Internally, the OS process type uses a process handle instead of PID, which is just an integer. But what can happen is the process that you started could exit and the same PID could be given to another process. So if you were trying to access the process with the PID, which is no longer there, it could lead to errors. Now with 1.26, a handle function has been introduced with process that can be used to keep grasp of the process as long as the process is there without leading to conflicts. The handle is granted to refer to the process until the callback function returns. So let's have a look at an example. Here we can create a process, os.startProcess, pass in the name, test, arguments, nothing at all. Or let's do bin echo, and for the arguments we will do echo hello. We need to provide the attributes. For that we can just do os.process attributes. For files we will just use inside it we can do files, which will be this. We can just refer process and that's it. Earlier you would do process.pid to refer to the process, but now what you can do is process with handle, which accepts a handle callback. With the handle we have access to the pointer for the underlying file descriptor that is used for the process. So basically, as long as the process is active or even after the exit, you can have access to the process safely with the handle function. Another interesting thing that have been added to Go 1.36 is the signal.notify context, which returns a context that gets cancelled when any of the specified signal or OS signal is received. Earlier, contexts like these would show context cancel, but now it will show the actual error. So we can do context cancel signal.notify context, pass a parent context, which is context or background, and do os.kill defer cancel. Now if we receive the signal, this context would be cancel automatically. So we can just print the error and the cause. I'm just going to comment this out and then just run our program. Instead of kill, let's do interrupt so that we can interrupt it from our terminal. And as you can see, interrupt signal received. Now let's look at some of the changes introduced in networking and buffer packages. In the bytes package, now you have buffer.peek method that returns the next n bytes from the buffer without advancing it. Previously, if you wanted to peek into the buffer, you would have to use next n and then manually unread it or manage the offset yourself, which was quite cumbersome. Now with bytes.peek, you can simply have a look ahead without having to manage the offset yourself or unreading it, because it's not actually reading it. It will return a slice of n bytes. The return slice is read-only and only valid until the next time you modify the buffer. Again, let me comment this out. So what we can do is create a new buffer, bytes.newBuffer or new buffer string hello world. Now data error, what we can do is buff.peek. Let's peek at 2 bytes. If error not is equal to nil, log.fatal error. Otherwise we will just print the data that we get, string data. Save it and let's run the program. Leave the console, go run main.go, and as you can see, HE was printed, which are the first 2 bytes. In the net package, netip.prefix.compare function has been introduced. If you know a little bit about networking, the IP address prefix represents a IP subnet. These addresses are written in CIDR form, which is something like this. Now with the prefix compare method, it lets you compare 2 IP prefixes, making it easier to sort them without having to write your own comparison code. So basically, what you can do is something like this, where we have the IP prefixes, then we use the compare method to sort the prefixes. And if we run the program now, you will see the IP prefixes have been sorted and printed in the sorted order. The sort is performed first by validity, then by address family, then by masked IP address, then by prefix length, and then by unmasked address. So it makes your life easier as a developer to work with subnet masks. Then we have the experimental power user features. There have been changes introduced in the runtime secret package, which is available as an experiment and can be enabled with the environment variable. It provides a facility to securely erase temporary data that is used for cryptography, such as register stacks new heap allocation. You can also use the do method on secret, something like secret, and then pass a function. Anything inside the callback will be ephemeral and will be deleted once it's done. You will see it's not able to pull the secret package because it's an experimental package. Along with that, if you remember, in earlier version of Go, for any cryptographic functions, you would require to pass an IO reader, which is usually a rand.reader. This was used to provide entropy. In Go 1.26, you can now pass nil, and runtime will automatically use the most secure source available. So you won't have to bother about providing the entropy. For example, if I was doing this, generating a key using ECDSA, I would have to provide a random.reader. But now I can just do nil, and that would do the same thing. There's also a new pprof endpoint to provide you debug information for Go routine leaks. I've only covered the few things, but there could be a lot of other things that I may have missed but are useful to you. So I will recommend you go through the Go docs and a bunch of other docs that I will link in the video description to get an overall view of changes introduced in Go 1.26. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed the time. Until next time, happy coding.